Hello friends, welcome to Gametoons-Biography channel. Today we have the biography of Nelson Mandela, a towering figure in the fight against apartheid and a symbol of hope for justice and equality. Lived a life marked by remarkable resilience, courage, and dedication to the cause of freedom. Born on July 18, 1918, in the small village of Mvezo in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa, Mandela was the son of Gadla Henry Mafakanyiswa, a chief of the Thembu people, and his third wife, Nosekeni Fani. From an early age, Mandela was exposed to the injustices of South Africa's system of racial segregation, known as apartheid, which divided the country's population along racial lines and denied basic rights and freedoms to black South Africans. Despite the hardships faced by his family, Mandela received a quality education, first at a local missionary school and later at Clarkberry Boarding Institute in Healdtown, a prestigious Methodist secondary school. In 1939, Mandela began his studies at the University of Fort Hare, the only higher education institution for black South Africans at the time. However, his time at Fort Hare was short-lived, as he was expelled for participating in a student protest against the university's policies. Undeterred, Mandela moved to Johannesburg and enrolled at the University of the Witwatersrand, where he studied law and became involved in anti-apartheid activism. Mandela's early experiences with racial discrimination and injustice fueled his commitment to fighting for the rights of black South Africans. He joined the African National Congress, ANC, the oldest liberation movement in Africa, and became increasingly involved in its efforts to challenge apartheid through nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. In 1944, Mandela helped found the ANC Youth League, which advocated for a more militant and radical approach to the struggle against apartheid. He quickly rose through the ranks of the ANC, becoming one of its most prominent leaders and spokespersons. In 1952, Mandela and other ANC leaders organized the Defiance campaign, a non-violent protest against apartheid laws that required black South Africans to carry passbooks and restricted their movements. Mandela was arrested and tried for his involvement in the campaign, but he remained defiant, declaring in court, "During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." Mandela was sentenced to 9 months of hard labor, but his trial and imprisonment only served to elevate his stature as a symbol of resistance against apartheid. Over the following years, Mandela continued to be actively involved in the struggle against apartheid, organizing protests, strikes, and boycotts, and advocating for international sanctions against the South African government. In 1961, Mandela co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation, the armed wing of the ANC, in response to the government's violent crackdown on peaceful protests. Under Mandela's leadership, Umkhonto we Sizwe launched a campaign of sabotage against government targets, with the goal of undermining the apartheid regime's authority and legitimacy. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and charged with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and sent to Robben Island, a notorious prison off the coast of Cape Town, where he would spend the next 18 years of his life. Despite the harsh conditions of his imprisonment, Mandela remained resolute in his commitment to the struggle against apartheid. He continued to advocate for the rights of black South Africans, both within the prison walls and on the international stage. Mandela's imprisonment only served to galvanize support for the anti-apartheid movement, and he became a symbol of resistance and defiance against injustice around the world. In 1985, the South African government offered to release Mandela on the condition that he renounce violence as a means of achieving political change. Mandela refused, declaring, "Only free men can negotiate. Prisoners cannot enter into contracts." However, behind the scenes, Mandela and other ANC leaders engaged in secret negotiations with the government, laying the groundwork for a peaceful transition to democracy. In 1990, after 27 years in prison, Mandela was finally released, to the jubilation of millions of people around the world. Mandela emerged from prison as a hero and a statesman, ready to lead his country out of the darkness of apartheid and into a new era of democracy and reconciliation. Reconciliation. Conciliation, 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 reconciliation, conciliation, conciliation, and reconciliation, of democracy and reconciliation, and reconciliation, and reconciliation, Mandela wasted no time in working to dismantle the apartheid system and build a new, inclusive South Africa. He led the ANC in negotiations with the government to end apartheid and establish a democratic constitution that guaranteed equal rights and opportunities for all South Africans. In 1994, Mandela made history by becoming South Africa's first black president in the country's first fully democratic elections. Mandela's election marked the culmination of decades of struggle and sacrifice, and it symbolized the triumph of hope over fear, of reconciliation over revenge. As president, Mandela worked tirelessly